Hey everyone, welcome back to Cult of Belial. I'm Paulo and I'm joined here with Anton. You know, we both had a little bit of time today, this weekend, and this is sort of an impromptu video. Uh, we wanted to put some content out there for you, and we were discussing before we started recording uh, what we wanted to make. And Anton had the awesome idea of Defense Against the Dark Arts, something along that nature. And, as we were discussing this before we started recording, I was like, well, I think the best way for me to defend against the dark arts and baneful magic is really knowing how to do baneful magic, knowing what attacks are coming your way, and how to recognize it and send things back. And Anton has a more of uh, a different approach, stopping things before they happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Anton speak about his defenses and the way he defends against things, and then we can get into the way I do it. So Anton, if you want to go ahead and share your experience, my friend.
I will share some things indeed. Um, See, the way I like to go about this is already setting up things, be it wards, spells, astral shields, having a mass amount of familiars around oneself, automatically ward things off, or fight things off, or defend things away as they're coming your way. The reason I like to do this is because there's not much risk factor in it. You don't have to deal with things as they come and transmute them. Of course, things may break through these defenses and you'll have to deal with them. That can happen, of course. But if you have your plan of action thought of already and have it all set up, somewhat like Batman, always have a plan ahead. So, in a sort of way, it makes things easier indeed. A very simple one that beginners can do is a mirror box spell. This can be used both ways. You get a small black box. You get mirrors. Don't ever look into the mirrors. Make sure they don't capture your reflection at all. And place them. Stick them somehow with hot glue, however, wax on each side of the box. Coat it entirely, or as much as you can with these mirrors. I like to put a pentagram in the middle, inverted pentagram with a mirror in the middle, and a sigil. That consecrates the whole box as well, and a drop of my own blood to also power up the spell. You want to put inside of the box black salt and your name. If you have any oils for protection, put that inside the box as well. Shut the box and tie it so it doesn't come apart at all. I like to sit there with my patron and further consecrate this box. Incantations of sorts. Set the intention for any spells that come my way that are negative or harmful in any manner shall be rebounded back to my enemy without me even trying. And you can even sort of put, I call it the Ring of Fire protection spell. You can do this without the box and put it around yourself, but you get 4 red candles on each side of it. There's a sigil of consecration that I use. You can use any protection sigil you want. And you call upon the element of fire, summon it through the flames from the candles, and see the fire, visualizing it, sort of going from each candle that's lit and forming a ring of fire around this box itself, further protecting the box. All right, because it's possible for spells to shatter through this. So this further strengthens the spell in terms of protection. Now with this, you won't have to do much after that. I like to redo it every 6 months, but any spells that come your way will automatically be bounced back to your enemy. You can do this the other way as well. If you have someone who you know is cursing you, you can put the mirrors on the inside of the box only, and then place their name or a voodoo doll of them inside the box and tie it. So any spells that are sent from the enemy bounce back to them, any spell at all. So it sort of works both ways. Another excellent thing you can do is general wards. I made a post in the Cult of Belial about utilizing the Black Earth's energy in your aura to sort of create this shield around your aura that prevents psychic vampires from draining you, people from even reading your thoughts, and general attacks and negative energy, parasites, etc., from being able to get through to your aura and therefore your astral double yourself, the core of your very being that walks around in the vessel that is on this earth. That's sort of my little introduction into the dark arts and my sort of style with it.
Hell yeah, dude. And as you were talking, man, I've got a lot of similar things set up around my home and around my life too. And you and me both. You discussed this, I think, in a video with Alfredo, how you set up black tourmaline as protection and enchant them or consecrate them or program them to use them for protection. I've actually taught some people how to do this, and I've got my tourmaline set up above my doorways. So anything that gets through my walls or my windows, if it tries to come in, there's extra layers of protection to catch that sort of thing. And we also talked before, we've all got mirrors in our house in order to get dressed and check ourselves out before going out on the town. Um, there are entities and even people who are skilled in astral projection that can enter your homes through mirrors. And one of the things that I have done is drawn protection sigils on my mirrors. Uh, you don't have to do anything fancy for this. I think I just charged my hands up with earth energy and I do it on the mirror and it stays there. I don't really clean my mirrors with uh, water or anything, but anytime I need to clean my mirror, I do the same thing, charge up the energy, draw it back on the mirror. It's very simple, it's very effective. Uh, Another thing that we've both done too, there are spirits that you can invoke or evoke and ask for their protection too. And the first spirit that comes to mind for this personally would be Sabnok. He can set up uh, astral walls to protect your astral double and even your home. Uh, they're like fortifications and large towers. And he can even return attacks coming to you back to other people. Sabnok is an incredibly amazing spirit in my experience. I've only spoken to him a handful of times, but man, uh, he's good at what he does. He's very respectful. Now, personally, I like to take a more of an active approach. Because you're not always in your home, and personally, I like to recognize things as they come at me. One, it always keeps me on my toes, and two, there's something about me, man, where I always like some sort of a challenge, because there's always a bigger fish, and if I come across some people that are sending stuff my way, it's almost like a bet, like who's gonna come out on top, you know. Now I haven't encountered anybody who has tried to hex or curse me directly, but I have come across entities in the astral who will try to approach me, and the first thing that I like to do is use my astral weaponry on them. I had a succubus come into one of my dreams the other night, and when I used my weapons on them, when I woke up, they were still in my chains, and I could feel them in my grips, man. Um, and if people have familiars or things that they are sending out to provoke you, too, this is an excellent uh, defense. When we create these weapons, when we're hoping that we don't have to use them, but there will be times when we have to, and knowing how to use them will always benefit you. Um, Now, when it comes to other spells and rituals and things of that nature, uh, as long as you, like, for me personally, as long as I have the knowledge of how baneful magic works, uh, then I know how I can either send it back to the person or redirect it to benefit me. For example, let's say someone is using necromancy against me. Okay. Well, we know that these people have employed necromantic spirits, spirits of the dead, uh, reapers, um, and spirits of sickness, and spirits of the dead. We want. I like to look at them like, uh, I don't want to say hitmen because that's not the proper word, but they've been employed, right? And if I can be a better employer, then there's no reason that they wouldn't take the payment, and if I can send them out to do a different task for me or face the consequences, then that is the approach that I will do. Dodging reapers and stuff, and that's another thing entirely. Uh, when reapers approach you, for me personally, I would imagine that they would try to set up an event that would severely injure me or maim me in some way, you know. So it's all for me. It's all about staying focused in my mind, staying aware of my surroundings, or noticing when I see these spirits around me. Because if I notice that they're setting something up, I can then do some light work, you know, either work with Michael or just take in divine light through some of the Golden Dawn's rituals so that these things sort of bounce off of me. Uh, that's just a couple examples off the top of my head. Now, again, I really haven't encountered anything like this so far. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen to me, but I will say that I'm prepared, and I think that a good education in baneful magic will help you to keep prepared, as it has done for me. And I'm going to hand it back to you, Anton, if you have anything to add to that.
That was beautifully said, by the way. I've got a few things to add, starting off with what you said about mirrors, which I completely forgot about. I did something very similar, except I got olive oil and put a few herbs in there for protection, and sort of just dabbed my fingers in it and drew symbols of protection upon all the mirrors in the household, which seems to have been an effective thing for a while now. Nothing really comes through these mirrors at all, which has happened before in the past. Not other magicians, so to speak, but vampiric entities of sorts. Now, with what you were saying before about familiars and stuff like that, I have a servitor that I created simply for protection, like a builder of sorts, but I made a spirit jar and infused it with the earth's energy, putting dirt in it, stuff like that. And I constantly feed this jar energy to keep the servitor alive, as one would. But its main role is to build astral walls and shields around all entrances to the home, the house, whatever I want him to do. And if Ryan holds creating them from attacks or whatever, his job is to keep them maintenance, to keep maintaining them, keep them up, keep them fully strong. Sort of like a stat in a video game. They'll be at 100%, maybe at 90% one day, and he puts them back to 100% in the sort of way. That's one way you can go about it. Just so you're not actively doing it yourself all the time, because it can become mundane very quickly. When magic becomes mundane, my camera's falling. It's not very potent as it once was. You need to keep the sort of special, how do I put this, special glamour that once was with your magic, and keep it special in that sort of way so it stays powerful. Now, what to do if a curse actually breaks through or gets through your defenses and hits you? There's a few things you can do. The first thing I would advise is to remain grounded and sturdy within your mind. A curse can't really affect you unless you let it affect you, so to speak. If someone curses you to be sick, right, it's going to go through your mind first. It's going to play games with you mentally first. You have to really believe that you cannot be cursed, that this cannot affect you, and it will not affect you. The second step I would advise is taking in the energy of the actual curse and transmuting it with your black flame. I made a post about this in the group as well, where you sort of see the energy of this curse. You can do this with a lot of other things as well, including traumatic experiences, emotions, trauma, whatever. You see the energy of this curse. Say it's a death curse. It'll usually have black energy, grey energy, or green sickly energy. You want to pull this in to your black flame and breathe it in and let it burn bright, sort of fueling your own power. What this does is really not eliminating the curse, but turning it into your own power. That's sort of the key with a lot of this. It's learning to take adversarial forces that are outside of yourself and make it, or help you level up, so to speak. Something Lucifer also spoke about, appreciating adversarial things, trials, tribulations, hard time, hardship, trauma. These things will only help you evolve and grow as a human being, as a person, and in your path and with your power. If we were to simply never have any, how do I put this, rough patches in our lives or any attacks in our lives, we would never be at the peak of our strongest form. We would never reach the full potential of our power unless it's tested, so to speak. We only evolve when we are challenged, when we are pushed. And with that said, do not fear any other entity, do not fear any other magician, any attack. Take it with open arms and know that this will only add to your power, unless you let it break you, of course, which then you can only remake yourself in the image you wish. So that's sort of my little spiel on that.
Hell yeah, dude. And it's this is something that a lot of black magicians encounter. You know, when a lot of these shifts happen, when hardships happen, it's almost like we thrive in the chaos, so to speak. You know, especially with things like you know, we've got Mercury's retrograde happening right now, and you'll hear a lot of the new agers or uh, light workers complain about this when you know, for people like me, for people like Anton, these chaotic shifts in energy uh, due to the planets, we seem to benefit from it. You know, we can take advantage of it. You know, hard times make hard men and women. And it is especially true for the black magician. Um, Now, I want to take a moment to really talk about baneful magic specifically. When should you curse? When shouldn't you curse? You know, and you know, it's not always going to be a curse. There are different levels to it. There's jinxes being like the low tier. There's hexes, and then you have the curses, which is like all you bring out your whole arsenal, right? Now, some of the gnosis that I have received when it comes to baneful magic is it should be a tool that you use to enact justice upon other people. You know, this is a major role that we play in the left-hand path. You know, people that seem to always be dodging karma, people that just never really get what we feel is righteous judgment. You know, that's why we were placed here upon this earth, is to cast that judgment upon people, you know, and it should be a carefully thought out thing, you know. I was a practitioner who hurled curses out indiscriminately in my beginnings, you know, and there was a period where Lucifer stepped in and he was like, "Hey, you should really calm down with this, you know. Like this is like we're not stopping you right now, but you should carefully consider what you're doing here." And perhaps some people that I cursed maybe did not deserve it, uh, but there are definitely people who I did curse who rightfully, in my opinion, deserved it. Now, some people are concerned about baneful magic backfiring, and this goes back on to what you were saying earlier, Anton. Is like if you have in your mind that this will not backfire, there will be no repercussions, then there really won't be. You know, I really don't believe in like the threefold law, or wherever that came from, or anything of that nature. You know, I solely believe in cause and effect. Now, if you experience anything backfiring, it's because you did not foresee an effect from your cause. You know, as magicians, as witches, as left hand path practitioners, you know, we live in the world of cause. We try to avoid living in the world of effect. You know, this is how we wish to create the lives that we want to live. You know, if we're going out reacting to life, then you know we really will get nowhere. But back to the baneful workings. Um, when it comes to deciding who should be cursed or who should uh, be hexed or what have you, there are a couple of characters or people or scenarios, in my opinion, that is you always get the green light. You know, if the person is confirmed for sexually assaulting people, green light always for me. You know, there's no reason to be sexually assaulting anybody, in my opinion. And you know, in my experience, you really draw on all that negative energy towards you, anyways. You know, uh, another person I believe, is deserving of attacks like this would be somebody trying to attack you. You know, and this is a large reason why we have these tools. You know, is so that we have them for defense. This is why we have these in our toolkits. Um, and there are a couple. The last thing, the last target would be uh, people trying to take away your livelihood. Now, this can take many forms. It can take the form of a bad boss. It can take the form of a deceitful friend. It can take the form of a thief. The list can go on and on. But if it affects you, if it affects your family or the people that you take care of, you must take care of your own by any means. And again, that would get the green light in my opinion and in my experience. So that's all I have for that.
Yes, with what you said before about justice and these things and backfire. If you're doing baneful magic, the dark arts, upon people appropriately and selecting your targets where they truly deserve it, there's not really going to be backfire. When you work with darker spirits, death gods, such as Abaddon, you actually encounter more shit people in your life, people who deserve this. They bring them forward to you so you can come up with your magic, sort of as an instrument to the spirit or karma itself to really fast forward what is already going to be happening to them. to serve a purpose upon this plane of existence, so to speak, beyond one's own selfish needs, which is nothing wrong with that, but sometimes we have to use our gifts and powers for the betterment of humankind. One particular type of person that I really enjoy cursing, and you will always get a green light for this, are people who are predators, very nasty human beings. There was one political figure, I'm not going to name him because I don't want to get banned, that I did a curse with Abaddon, right? And I knew that he was already a predator based upon things that I had heard from the spirits and things that I had seen upon the news. Not only that, but he was fucking up a lot of shit in the country. So I did this bone breaker curse on him, right? A month or two pass, and he's been pushed down the stairs by someone. The news didn't say that he fell down the stairs and broke his back, this political figure. But a lot of people know, and word got out, that he was actually pushed down the stairs by the person who owned the house because he tried to touch up the person's daughter. This word goes around, etc. It's when you have these people brought forth to your attention that the spirits will really actually push you to curse. A lot of other magicians do this as well. I saw something the other day about magicians working with Samael to enact justice upon certain people on this earth that are trying to control the masses and derail the evolution of humanity, which a lot of these spirits don't want happening. They want humans to evolve. They want us to grow and become powerful, but the forces upon this earth do not want this. So with that said, select your targets carefully. Don't go throwing curses because someone cut you off in traffic. Throw them. Yeah, throw them with justified intent. I wouldn't death curse a bad boss. I would fuck him up, but I wouldn't death curse him, wouldn't kill him. I would take something from him that he holds dear. Give him the same treatment he would have given me, so to speak. I'd just simply put a vampiric curse on him and leave him a dry husk of a human being, as he does to his other employees. That's pretty much what I have to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And dude, you hit the nail on the head. Really, if you're going out and doing baneful magic, you want the punishment to fit the crime. I'll just share an example of there's really two lessons in this story here. One is, as magicians, we have to be very careful about our thinking and our thought patterns, and consider whether or not how we would feel if we got what we were trying to achieve, right? There's a guy that I work with who was pranking me, and it was funny, but I was pretty salty about it, and I wanted to do something light to him. Not anything too bad, but all I did was visualize placing grave dirt upon his car. And the very next morning, he was driving to work and something fell off of a semi-trailer and completely smashed his windshield. Now, it was an expensive fix for him. He was late for work. Did he really deserve it? Probably not to that magnitude, but again, that's something that we have to be careful about when, especially if we're practitioners of a certain degree, of a certain level. I have to be really careful about the thoughts that I think. But if you try to go out and death curse somebody that cut you off in traffic, there's a good chance that it won't go through, because there's natural laws in place that would prevent these sorts of things from coming to fruition if you're just sending curses out all willy-nilly. But yeah, that's all I have to speak on that subject. Anton, is there anything else that you would like to bring up or discuss?
I did get told to bring up something halfway through as you were talking. Like he was like poking me in the back, going, "Talk about this, talk about this." I was like, "Okay," but with what you said about there's things in place like laws and all that stuff, there is something of some things in place called the Council of the Death Gods. A lot of spirits are in it: Belial, Lucifer, Samael, Abaddon, a lot of other deities. They sort of approve every death curse that goes through because death gods, and they actively strike down people who are deserving of death within this world, evil, good, or
So I just got hit with a wave of like nauseousness. Oh my gosh. Give me just a second.
that's what it is.
Whew. Oh man. Continue. Please continue. I'm gonna grab some water.
That's right. So yeah, there's a council of death gods that sort of approve death curses. So if you're throwing curses out for being cut off in traffic, it's probably going to get denied and maybe thrown back right back at you. But with that said, there are people out there upon this earth who are very deserving of death, that these death gods will actively seek out. They act as a natural purger or supernatural purger upon this earth and the planes of existence, to sort of keep things clean, so to speak. So that is one thing that is in place and is part of the laws of the realms, so to speak, for when people are doing baneful magic. So just keep that in mind. That's pretty much what I had to add.
Rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. It seems that I have an audience now, but they aren't really speaking it. Dude, I got hit with a massive surge of energy right as you said you were being poked in the back of the head, man. Ooh, and I am very nauseous right now. But the whew, it makes it hard to think, man. It makes it hard to think.
Yeah, they love to do that.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's nothing new for me. They like to do this, especially when we're making videos, man. Like it's this is what it looks like to live with spirits. If and some of you may feel this in the video. I'm certain somebody will. But that's really all that I have to speak on these subjects. Anton, do you have any final words?
No, I don't actually. So yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in with us, and until next time, rise and conquer.